And welcome back to On Location. And today we're sitting in the offices of our mayor, Mayor Mike Houston. Thank you so much for allowing us to come in and visit with you today. Mike, what I'd like to know is what makes you tick? What is behind Mike Houston?
Well, you know, if you take a look at my adult life, one of the things that I've really done is be involved in the community, and I enjoy being involved in the community. Most of that time has been spent in voluntary types of activities, but having had the opportunity to serve as mayor from '79 to '87, and then having the opportunity to come back in 2011 is really sort of a dream come true for me. I'm really enjoying the opportunity to do what I do. And most people say that, you know, are you crazy? Why do you want to do this? There's, you know, too many problems in that type of thing. But I really enjoy it, and it's an opportunity for me to give back to the community, but more importantly to try to move the community forward. And the city of Springfield, both in terms of the community at large as well as city government, faces some real challenges. And how we handle the challenges today is going to dictate what type of future we have on a long-term basis.
Now, you just said the hot button word, challenges, because for some individuals, change is hard. And you have a lot of challenges in this decade that we're in currently. So how do you prioritize different things, and how do you move on with them?
Well, first of all, if you've been in this world for any time at all, this has been decades of change. You know, one of the things that I had the opportunity to do between the time I left City Hall in 1987 and came back in 2011 is I was in the banking business, and I spent 24 years in banking. And banking was changing almost in its entirety every 5 years during that period of time. And one of the things you learn very, very quickly in terms of being in the real world is you really have to change, because if you don't change, you're just going to fall by the wayside. And change is happening all over. One of the challenges facing city government is that when I left city government in 1987 and came back in 2011, basically city government is operating the same way in 2011 that it did in 1987. The services are pretty much the same. In many ways, we deliver the services the same way. What has changed is the internet, computers, cell phones, and when you add that to the equation, almost everything within city government has changed, yet the basic way we deliver services is the same today as what it was in 1987. And the real challenge is to make city government more efficient, to be able to take the resources that we have within city government, which are very, very limited, and no one wants to pay more taxes, and use those resources in such a way that we can improve the product that we are delivering and actually provide a better level of service to the people of the city of Springfield. You know, I would remind you that on the day that I walked in to city government, we basically had a city government that wasn't functioning very well.
Is it better now, though, with this form of government as opposed to what you worked with the last time?
You know, what we have to look at is what we are working with today, not what we worked with in the past. The mere automatic form of government is what is dictated by law. It does absolutely no good to think in terms of what things were in the past. What we have to focus on is what we're working with today and where we're going into the future. So that when we talk in terms of trying to be more efficient, one of the first priorities that we had was trying to get the city's financial house in order, because it's hard to be able to deliver services, number one, if you don't have money to do it. But you really can't be doing a lot of things till you get the basics down. And when we walked into office, which was April 29th of 2011, the average daily balance for the corporate fund, which pays for all the basic services of city government for the entire 220 working days of the previous fiscal year, was just a little over a negative $3.5 million a day. Now, when you're working with a balance that's just a little over a negative $3.5 million a day, you can understand why the city was having a hard time delivering services. So one of the things we did was we began to look at how we structured city government, the number of people we had in city government, and in that first 10 months of the remaining fiscal year, we took that negative $3.5 million plus a day and turned it into a plus $728,000. And we ended this last February 28th, our average daily balance was just a little over $2.8 million. And that's a direct result of having a good management team that actually manages city government and manages the budget. It's not something that just happened. It's a matter of really managing city government and the budget. And that isn't me. That is the team of people that we have, and every department head that we have is held accountable for their budget. And they really have done a very, very good job in terms of trying to take the resources that they have, reduce them where they can, and put the dollars into providing services to the people of the city of Springfield. And I think it is, in fact, paying off.
So where do you see the city 5 years from now?
Well, first of all, 5 years from now, I hope that we are in much better financial shape than we are today.
Okay.
We continue to have financial problems, and I'm not saying that we've solved the financial problems. What I will say is that we definitely have turned the corner. But we also have problems in terms of underfunded pension liabilities for both our police and fire pension funds. We have problems within the utility in terms of the electric division has been losing money, and part of that is a result of what's happening on a national basis in the price of electricity. Those are two problems that remain to be solved, and we need to constantly work on those. 5 years from now, I really hope that we have funding in place and are really moving along in terms of the 10th Street corridor, because as we look at the future of the city of Springfield, to me there's nothing more important than getting that 10th Street corridor in place. And if we had everything in place today, which we don't, it's an 8-year project. So we're talking about something that's going to be long-term. And as hard as we work to get the record of decision, and when I say we, I'm talking about the community, because this was a real community effort that involved many different groups, many organizations, a vast majority of people, but it was the community speaking with one voice that we wanted the tracks going down 10th Street.
Right.
As hard as it was to get that record of decision, getting the funding is going to be far harder. And what we're really looking at is trying to do this in segments, have usable segments where we can begin to put segments together and eventually put these together in terms of the complete corridor. Right now we've applied for a Tiger grant, and we're asking the federal government for about $14.4 million towards a $21 million project that would allow us to put an underpass at Carpenter Street and the 10th Street tracks between 9th and 11th. Now, if you think about that particular location, what that will do is it will provide a usable segment that will readily be used immediately, but it will open up not only traffic flow in terms of an east-west basis, but if you think about the tracks right now, if you have a train sitting on those tracks, you have to go to Sangamon Avenue in order to find an underpass to be able to come under. And if you're going south, you have to be able to go to Cook Street. What that will do is open up for anyone that's on the east side of the 10th Street tracks the ability to access St. John's Hospital and Memorial Medical Center in a medical emergency and get them to that hospital quicker. So we think that the usable segment that we have picked out has not only the ability to provide much better transportation in terms of the trains, make it safer, but it will also have that added element that we are increasing the ability of someone to reach a hospital in a medical emergency, which I think is a very, very important factor. And we hope, because we are in a competitive basis, to receive these dollars, and there's a limited amount of dollars, and they're going to have far more applications than they have anywhere close to the dollars needed to fund that. But we think we can put together a very fundable segment, and if we can get that segment, then we're going to be in a good position to continue to do that type of thing over the next few years.
A lot of challenges. Do you consider the rail corridor one of the largest challenges you've had?
I think that it's probably one of the most important challenges for the future of the city of Springfield, because one of the things that's happening as we talk in terms of change is train traffic is changing. And right now we have approximately 35 trains a day that run on the 3rd Street tracks, the 10th Street tracks, and the 19th Street tracks. The estimate is that by the year 2030, there will be 81 trains coming through Springfield. That's a huge increase. The trains are primarily going to be freight trains. These are much heavier freight trains. They're much longer freight trains. If you look at the tracks in the city of Springfield from the north side to the south side, they're 5 miles long. We're talking freight trains that are going to be about 2.5 miles long. So if you think about that number of additional trains coming through the city and blocking your various crossings, and then think just by chance you had one going one way and one going the other, what that is going to do to the city, you get an idea of just how important the 10th Street corridor is to the future of the city of Springfield. And by getting the corridor in place, what we're doing is, number one, providing the safest route for trains through the city, because we're going to be adding 8 underpasses and 1 overpass, and there'll be very few at-grade crossings along that corridor. Number two, we're going to improve the ability of both pedestrians and vehicles to be able to move on an east-west basis. And number three, which people will just love, there'll never be another train whistle in the city of Springfield. Because under federal law today, when a train approaches an intersection, it has to blow its horn. And basically what that means is that when a train hits one edge of the city, they blow the horn, and when they hit the other edge of the city, they can let loose. And we'll never have another horn, which people will just love.
And the fact of the convenience to get from east to west and west to east. I mean, that would be a significant drop.
And the safety.
Right.
Safety is extremely important.
Now, you have your schedule full, and that's one of the reasons we're grateful to be here today. How busy are your days? Ultimately, what goes on in the average day of Mayor Mike Houston?
I don't think there is an average day. As I always say, I come to work with an idea that there's certain things I want to get done, and then at the end of the day, you look at the things that did get done, and sometimes the two of those don't match. But one of the things about the job, every day is an interesting day. Every day is a challenge, and I have fun every day. There's good days and bad days, but I have fun with it.
Well, I certainly appreciate being here today, and I thank you very much for all your time you've given us, and I'm hoping that we can reoccur at some point in your life and come back and talk to you again.
Sounds good, Kurt.
All right,
Have a great
thank
day.
you.